In this video, I'm going to be ranking every single biome in Minecraft, going from God tier at the best, amazing, great, good, meh, trash, and the absolute worst of the worst biomes. Let's waste no time and get into it with our first biome, the Badlands Plateau. The Badlands Plateau is basically a flat version of the Badlands, which is already a pretty weak biome in my opinion, made way worse. The entire point of the Badlands is to have a really cool terrain and a bunch of different layers, and this basically removes all of that and gives you all of the crappy materials that you can find in the Badlands, and it just doesn't look good. You don't really get anything out of it. You wouldn't want to build your house there. There's no trees. It's just complete trash. The next one is, ironically, the Badlands. The Badlands is actually a lot better than the Badlands Plateau. There's not much you can do in it, and there's not a whole lot of naturally generated structures that are very valuable. There is some mine shafts that can add a little bit to the terrain, but overall it's still a pretty weak biome, and I think outside of looking cool, there's not much you can do with it, and you aren't really going to want to build your base there because you can't really get any minerals there. There's no grass, etc, etc, etc. It is a meh biome, and that maybe is a little bit too generous. The bamboo jungle is one of my favorite biomes in all of Minecraft. I love that you can see the bamboo from really far away. It's a super distinctive biome. If you see it, you know what it is. And it has pandas, which is basically a biome specific mob, which is always really cool. And I just think everything works about it. It has all the minerals that you might need. It has all the materials you might need. And if you want to build your house there, you can. But it's also just useful if you're passing through. It looks cool. It just has everything. And so I think it's going to have to go in either amazing or even God tier. I'm not going to quite put it in God tier. I think it's missing a little bit to just quite push it above, but it's a really, really good biome. The Basalt Delta is a nether biome that honestly I think makes the nether feel very much like the nether. The nether is supposed to be dark. It's supposed to make you feel like you're going into another dimension, and when we didn't have a bunch of different biomes in the nether, it didn't really feel like this. I feel like this one's a little bit more scary. It has magma cubes, which I think are an underappreciated mob, and I just think that everything about it works. It's super cool, and I think it's a great addition to the nether, but I just don't think a lot of nether biomes are going to be in those higher tiers because you're never going to build a base in there or spend that much time in the nether. The beach is the next one, and it's an interesting one. It's one of the smallest biomes in all of Minecraft, but it's also a really useful one. If you're just building your house in Minecraft, it's very likely that you're going to choose a beach because water is super valuable, and you're going to be near grass and trees and stuff with the forests that are usually right next to it, or a plains biome. So the beach is going to be something that a lot of people put into their playthrough, and having a biome specific mob in turtles is awesome for the beach, and I feel like it gives it a lot of points. I'm gonna have to put it in great tier, and it might even go in amazing if it were more fleshed out. The birch forest is a really interesting one. I think it's awesome that they have this, but I think it's a little bit too common, honestly. I think the birch trees look good, and I don't really have any complaints with the biome, but I also don't have a whole lot to say that's good about it. So I think I'm just going to be putting it in good tier because it is just a good, solid, kind of boring biome. I really like the Crimson Forest. The Crimson Forest, to me, feels like what the Nether should have been from the very start. It's like the overworld, but totally destroyed hellscape. It wasn't before, when it was just like netherrack and maybe you find some quartz. Now there's so many little details that make it awesome, like the grass nether blocks, the shroom lights, the crimson trees. Everything just works really well for this to be the de facto biome of the nether, and I feel like for that I have to give it at least great tier, but I think I'm going to put it in amazing tier just because I feel like there's so much that goes into making this perfect, and it just does everything so well, and I have no complaints that I kind of have to put it in amazing tier. The Dark Forest is definitely an interesting biome. I feel like it's good to have some unique forests, and I like that the mushrooms kind of add a little bit of color to it. I like the thick trees. I think it looks really unique to other forests, but I also think it's a little bit boring. You're not going to be finding a lot of naturally generated structures in the dark forest. You're only going to stay there for so long because it is so packed together with all the trees that if you build your house there, you're just going to be seeing the tops of a bunch of trees unless you clear out like thousands of blocks of wood. So the dark forest is just a good biome, but not a whole lot more than that. So it's going to go in good tier. The deep cold ocean has the same problems as the cold ocean. So I feel like there's not much explaining I need to do. It's just kind of boring, and it's gonna go in trash tier. The deep dark is the most new biome, I believe, and it adds a lot to the underground. I feel like Minecraft has the right ideas about how to build the caving system, where you start off and it's kind of safe, you feel good about the top layer of the caves, then it gets a little bit more dangerous, then more dangerous, then more dangerous, then more dangerous, until we get the deep dark, which is like, you might die. If you have a hardcore world, you probably aren't going to want to go into the deep dark, and I feel like that's perfect. That's the exact atmosphere that the caves should have, and the deep dark does it really, really well. So I just feel like this is an amazing biome. There's not a whole lot to talk about. It just does everything really well. The deep frozen ocean is what the cold ocean should have been, and what it should be. Like, we shouldn't really have a cold ocean. The deep frozen ocean has these massive ice structures built all over that makes you feel like you're swimming through Antarctica. It is cool, and it's a lot cooler than the cold ocean, both literally and figuratively. The deep lukewarm ocean is basically just the ocean but a little bit lighter, but that color change adds a ton. And I don't think it's quite good enough as the warm oceans, but it still adds so much to make you feel like you're swimming out in Hawaii, and like, this color of water is what the whole ocean should be, in my opinion. But I'm fine if they want to just separate it and have the regular ocean be darker, because that's how it is in real life. So I really like this biome. I think the colors work really well, but I don't know, it's still lacking a little bit that other biomes do have. So I feel like I'm going to be putting it in good tier, but that's it. The deep ocean, kind of boring, but that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, there's not much in the real life ocean, and I feel like in Minecraft there's broken ships all over, there's like underground temples, there's stuff in the ocean enough to where it feels alive, and I don't think the ocean should necessarily feel like that, but I feel like Minecraft thought, oh, well, this is one of our most empty biomes, let's add a ton to it, and I think it kind of takes away from what the ocean should be. Does that mean it's bad? No, I think it's fun, and everything they added is good, but I just feel like the ocean should be the ocean. It should be kind of more empty. It's cool, but I just don't think it's quite good enough, so I'm going to be putting it in meh tier, sadly. The deep warm ocean, however, is sick. I love the coral. I love everything about this biome. The colors work magnificently. The cool tropical fish, awesome. I feel like everything just works so well with this one that I have to put it in at least great tier, but it honestly might go in amazing. I mean, I'd always love to put my base near a deep warm ocean, or just a warm ocean in general, because they feel more alive than the normal oceans, and they make you feel better, more calm. I can't totally describe it, but I just love this biome so much more than the normal ocean. The desert is a great biome, but obviously it's not that useful. I mean, it's supposed to be like that. That's what the desert is. It has really cool natural generation. There's not many big complaints I can give, so I feel like good tier is the perfect place for the desert. The dripstone caves are also one of the biomes that I have no complaints with, but I feel like could have done slightly differently. I don't really see them very often. They're really rare biomes, and I don't know. I feel like it's missing a little something. It's great, but it's missing a little something, so I feel like I'm just going to put it in great tier. The end barrens are barren. They're just end stone. I feel like end stone, the end, looks really good, and it being super simple is a bonus, but obviously this does what it's supposed to, but it wasn't supposed to do much, so I think I'll just put it in meh. The end highlands, on the other hand, have the chorus fruit, have the end cities, are dope. I feel like everything works with them and they're fun to explore. I think they sparsed out the end cities perfectly and everything just works. So I'm gonna put it in amazing tier. The end Midlands are a version of the end Highlands just without the chorus route and with less generations. So I don't know, I feel like they just have to go in good tier. They're just a worse version of the Highlands. The eroded Badlands are like the Badlands if they were what they were supposed to be. This is way cooler than the Badlands. I could see a reason to build your house in here. This probably has to go in good tier just for how it looks alone. Flower Forest is also awesome, but I wish they were less common. Maybe it's just I've been super lucky with it, but I always see Flower Forest like maybe every 2 forests it's a Flower Forest. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's probably too common, and it would be cooler if it was like once in every long time you see, oh wow, this is a Flower Forest, like I want to put my house here, but they made it a little bit too common, even though it's super cool, so I'm just going to be putting in good tier. The forest, however, is one of the very best biomes in all of Minecraft. I mean, it's the biome that most biomes are remodeled after because they have the perfect amount of everything. They have the perfect amount of hills, trees, mobs. Everything works and nothing is wrong with it. It's iconic. The amount of water generation is perfect. If you need to build a house here, everything works. It's just what a biome should be. It has natural generation. I mean, it's just perfect. So it has to go in God tier. The frozen ocean it's an okay biome. I just feel like another one where it's just too common. I mean, I feel like the frozen stuff, they just went a little bit too crazy with it. I feel like the frozen ocean should spawn a lot less, and we probably can limit it. I mean, we could take the frozen ocean out of the game, honestly, and we wouldn't really be losing a whole lot because of how many frozen biomes we have that are more interesting than the frozen ocean. So I'm just going to put it in meh tier. The frozen peaks are also a pretty rough biome that doesn't need to exist. We have the cooler jagged peaks. Why do we need the frozen peaks? I don't understand why we would just have a worse version of another biome, and we already have too many frozen biomes as it is. So this one, you're not going to be getting a lot of spruce trees, which is awesome. Well, the spruce trees are awesome. That's not awesome. I love spruce trees so much, and to have like none in an ice biome, it's like, what's the point? What is the entire point of this biome if you're not going to have the best tree type in the game, which is already too rare because all of these ice biomes just like forget to include them. So I don't know. I took out my personal anger on these frozen peaks. I don't think they're that bad, but I don't know. I feel like the frozen biomes could be a lot cooler. The frozen river, I mean, it's basically just a normal spruce biome, another frozen biome, but it has a river in it. It's kind of boring, but it's good overall. I like the spruce trees. I like the frozen aesthetic as much as I ragged on it. So I'm just going to put it in good tier because it's an okay biome. The giant tree taiga hills are inarguably one of the best biomes in the game. They are modeled after the redwood forest, just differentiate themselves from every other biome so well. I think they have to go in God tier. If you've never seen this biome, because it's way too rare, it's a way too rare biome, but if you've never seen it, you're doing yourself a disservice, and if I ever see it, that is where I'm going to live in Minecraft. The Grove is another solid biome. It has everything. It's a smaller winter biome, and it has spruce trees, it has water, so it has everything you're going to need, but again, it's just not that interesting, so it's going to go in good tier also. The ice desert is going to make me explode. Why? I get that there's real ice deserts in real life, but why would anyone choose to go in a biome that is not only dry, it doesn't have much water, it doesn't have much anything, and then be like, oh, well, let's put ice everywhere, so it's just harder to build, and there's nothing, there's no trees, there's nothing. It's the worst biome ever, and it's just so worthless for everything. There's not even good natural generation here. So I don't know how I couldn't put it in the worst tier, because it is one of the worst biomes, undoubtedly. The ice spikes are a cool biome. I like the idea. Are they super realistic to be seeing, like, as common as they are? No, not at all. Are they a really cool biome? Yes, they're very cool, and so I have to give them style points. I don't like this direction where it's just like super crazy, extreme generation that's unrealistic. I know that there are real ice spikes in like real life, but this seems like a bit much probably, so I'm just going to be putting it in good tier, and that's also because you're probably not going to want to live here unless you bring a ton of materials from other biomes, so it's just a good biome. I like what they did with it, but I hope this doesn't become a pattern, you know? The jagged peaks are the better version of the frozen peaks. They're more extreme mountains that look really cool, and it looks like what you would want out of a frozen mountain biome. If that's what you're looking for, this delivers, and it delivers really well. It's missing some materials. I think they should have added more trees, but it's still super cool, and for that I'll give it a great tier. It's a little bit hard to build in, but if you're looking for a mountain, this is probably the best biome for that. The ocean obviously is going to be a little bit more basic than the other versions of the ocean biomes, but overall I think I'm just gonna have to give it a meh tier. Same things that I said with the deep ocean, it's just a little bit too much. The Java Swamp, it has cooler generation, but I mean, it doesn't really change that much from my feelings on the Bedrock Swamp. I know a lot of people are going to love the swamp and be mad at me for this, but I don't know. For me, it just doesn't work that well. The Jungle Hills are kind of like taking the jungle, an already kind of weak biome, and being like, let's take all the parts of this that don't work and put them into a biome. Because already the jungle is way too overcrowded. Already the jungles are hard to traverse to, and they're definitely hard to live in. And this is like, oh, let's just make it even harder. Who cares? And it's not even like hard in a fun way to where it's a little bit of a challenge. It's just like obnoxious, and it doesn't even look good because you'd have to like clear out so much to make it look good. The Jungle Hills are just like a worse version of the jungle, and nothing really works very well, but it's also just not that bad. I mean, you can still live here if you really want to. If you like the jungle, I suppose it's an option, so trash tier seems like the good place for it. Now the jungle biome, I feel like the jungle biome has a lot of stuff that works with it, but I feel like they are going to eventually have an update where they really fix a lot of the problems with the jungle biome, because well, yes, the trees are super annoying to traverse and like it's hard to get around places. I don't think they take parts of it far enough. Like, I think there should be dangerous mobs everywhere. I think there should be poisonous mobs that are kind of friendly all over. I think it should be a whole lot more dangerous, and I feel like that would kind of help it come alive. If you're looking out on different places, but these really rare mobs maybe drop great stuff, or there's really good materials in the jungle that you're going to want to traverse in these dangerous places for it. But right now, as the jungle is, it's just kind of meh. There's not much to do in it, and not many people are going to be willing to take the investment to build inside of a jungle, so meh tier seems like the right place for it. The Legacy Frozen Ocean, there's not much I can say about this because it's literally just a flat plane of ice that stretches on for a long time, so I guess meh tier. There's not much I can say there. The Lukewarm Ocean has a lot of the similar things as the other Lukewarm Ocean that's over here, the Deep Lukewarm Ocean, so I'll put it in the same tier. Same thoughts apply. Now, the Lush Caves are very similar to what I said with the Deep Dark, where I think a tiered system for the cave is the best way to go, and this is just another version of that, with the more upper tiers of the cave, like higher up, closer to the ground, are going to be safer and more kind of calming, and like, you're not going to die here, and that's what the Lush Caves is. It's a really cool addition. It obviously spices up the cave, gives it some life and some light, and it just works. Everything is great about it, and you're always going to be happy to come across this, and I think it adds a lot to the cave generation just overall in Minecraft, so amazing tier seems perfect for the Lush Caves. The Meadows is the basic biome, but it's also one of the best biomes. I mean, if you're looking to build, you're often going to choose the Meadows, and I know most people do. Now, this is between the Meadows and the Plains, obviously. People have different disputes, but I think the Meadows overall look better. They look more vibrant, more alive, and if I were to choose between the two, I would probably build in the Meadows. Obviously, I think the Plains are more, like, notable. They're more Minecraft, but I feel like the Meadows are kind of like if they were to make Minecraft today, this is what the plains would be, and it works really well, so it's going to go in amazing tier. It's a really good biome. The modified Badlands Plateau is basically they took the Badlands and they took the Badlands Plateau and they were like, these both kind of suck, so let's try and mix them up. And it's just like, why would you take two things that don't work and mix them together? It's better than the Badlands Plateau. It is. It looks cooler, but it still has all the problems of the Badlands Plateau. So it's just like, okay, I guess it's a little bit better, but it's not great, so it's gonna go in trash tier. The modified wooded Badlands Plateau, it's just like, okay guys, it didn't work the first time, why are you still going? Obviously this is a step up from the modified Badlands Plateau. This gives people a reason to go there, and it makes it easier to live there. So it's going to go higher because it's a cool looking biome that is able to live in, but it's just like, guys, we don't need this many. We could have just had the eroded Badlands and none of the other four, and it would have been perfect. So I'm going to put this in good tier, but that is a spiteful good tier. So the Mountain Edge is another small biome that is, I believe, just like on the outskirts of another biome, which is the mountains. It's cool. I don't really have any complaints, but I also don't have a lot to say about it, so I guess I'll put it in good tier. The Mushroom Field Shore is the shores of the Mushroom Fields. I don't totally know why they separate these as biomes, but I'm gonna just rank them together. The Mushroom Fields are an awesome biome, an awesome addition. I love how rare they are. They're perfectly rare, and I just think that they could have done a tiny bit more to make it even better. But I'm not going to complain because they're already really good, so I'm going to put them in amazing tier. As a kid, whenever you found one of these, you were going ballistic. Mushrooms are an awesome mob. The plains are obviously one of the most iconic biomes. They are one of the easiest to build in. They have good natural generation, good mobs, good flora and fauna, basically plants on the ground that I feel like everything works to make it come alive after years of kind of adapting and tweaking it a little bit. This is exactly what Minecraft wanted this biome to be, and it works really well. It's kind of boring, but I'm not going to take that against it because that's part of the point, so I'm just going to put it in amazing tier because it is a super useful biome that you'd be happy to come across, but I don't feel like it goes the extra step to get in God tier. The rainforest is what I think the jungle should have been, but I still think there's a lot of work that needs to go in the rainforest to make it feel like a rainforest. Is it a great biome? Am I happy to come across it in the wild? Yes, and I'd choose it any day over the jungle, but I feel like it could be a little bit more chaotic like the rainforest is, and there's some mobs that they could probably add to make it feel more chaotic. But it's still a really good biome, so I'm going to be putting it in good tier. A river, obviously a basic biome. It's just a river, so there's not much I can say about it, but normally the rivers are pretty good. You can obviously follow them to oceans, so useful, but you're probably not going to be using them that much. So yeah, I guess good tier seems like a good spot for the river. The savannas are probably some of the ugliest biomes, and I think everybody knows them, but they're not only the ugliest biomes, they're some of the most worthless. They have barely any good mobs, they have the worst tree type in the game, and the grass looks awful. So I don't know, the Savannah Plateau is gonna go in trash tier because I hate the Savannah, and the Savannah Plateau doesn't do enough or really anything to make it much better, and that's going to go the same for the Savannah. The Shattered Savannah Plateau is kind of when the hills are more extreme. I feel like every time I go into one of these, I see half of a village on the top of a mountain and half of it on the bottom, and I don't know why that is, but I feel like savannas are just, that's always going to be a part of it. But again, this doesn't solve the problems of the savannah, it just kind of makes it a little bit better. But it's still not good enough. I guess I'll put it in meh because I like the terrain generation, but it still has so many problems. I would never want to live in it. The Shrubland is definitely the coolest name for any of these, but I don't know if it's much more than that. There's just a lot of small like bushes and grass and stuff, so I mean it's a good biome, but it's not like insane. It's kind of like a plains and a forest mixed together, so it's cool, it's good, you'd be happy to find it, but you probably wouldn't know that you're in a shrubland if you are in a shrubland. The small end islands are kind of trash. I mean, they're cool, I guess, but they're just tiny islands with nothing on them that kind of are just like intermediates between real biomes. So I guess I'll put it in meh, because it's just like whatever, who cares. The snowy beach is like the beach, but if it were significantly worse and less useful. So I will put it in trash tier, because nobody wants a snowy beach when they could have a normal beach, because it's a lot less useful and you have to break all the snow if you want to build anything and it just looks worse. So sorry, but not sorry, that's in trash tier. Snowy mountains, on the other hand, I don't feel like they're quite even close to the level of the jagged peaks, because snowy mountains should be cooler than this. This should be snowy hills. But I guess I can put them in meh tier. They would go in trash, but I like that they have a few trees and they're not completely worthless to build on, so snowy mountains can go in meh. The snowy slopes are a little bit cooler than the snowy mountains, so I'll put them in good tier. Obviously, I feel like the snowy aesthetic works really well for big mountains, and the snowy slopes are a little bit more extreme than the snowy mountains, so I like that part of it. Is there a ton you can do in it? No, but it's still a good biome, and I feel like it still makes Minecraft look more diverse and more extreme with the differences between biomes. So I feel like it's a good biome, but again, it has all the problems of most snowy biomes. The snowy taiga is likely the snowy desert or winter biome that everybody knows, and for that, I feel like it has some extra points in its favor. It again doesn't really do anything wrong per se compared to most of the other snowy biomes, but it also just doesn't stand out that much. I think they've added a little bit to make it more cool with some little details like fell over logs and sweet berries, but it's still not quite good enough to get into the top tiers, but it's still a pretty good solid biome. The Soul Sand Valley is a really good biome. I didn't think I'd like the nether biomes this much, but all of them are really strong biomes. I mean, we have the bone, we have the blue fire, we have the big fossils, we have everything in the Soul Sand Valley that makes it look really cool. And we have everything about the current nether that works really well. And just everything put together, I feel like the Soul Sand Valley is a really, really solid biome. Obviously, again, there's not going to be that much you can do with it, but for nether biomes, it is another really solid heavy hitter, so it's going to go in great tier. It is a great biome. The sparse jungle is kind of like the jungle, but it's a little bit better. It's more livable, more breathable. Does it feel like the jungle? Not really. It doesn't feel like a jungle, but is that bad? No. I mean, if you like jungle wood, if you like the idea of the jungle without any of the real texture to it, the sparse jungle is an okay option, but I feel like it's just like kind of whatever, and it solves some problems but not most, and it creates some new problems, so I'm going to be putting it in meh tier. I feel like they could have done something better to fix the jungle's problems, but I guess reducing some of the massive kind of shrubbery and all the giant trees and vines and stuff is a small improvement. The Stony Peaks is probably going to go along in great tier with the Jagged Peaks. It does a lot to add to the mountains in the game and to not make them feel all so samey. And just coming across them in the wild, it's going to be really massive and awesome. And I just feel like not making everything the snowy aesthetic makes it a lot easier to live on one of these stony peaks, because living in the massive winter climate is going to be hard, especially with deep snow and all of that. So Stony Peaks kind of solves that issue and gives the game more diversity in the type of biomes in the types of terrain. So really great biome, going in great tier. The Stony Shore is actually pretty similar to that. I like that not every shore is just a beach or it's just a biome cut off and now we're in the ocean. This is cool. I like it a lot. Is it the most interesting biome? No, but it's still a really solid biome, and so it's going to be going in good tier. The Sunflower Plains is meh. I like the plains, but I don't like sunflowers. I feel like they're probably one of my least favorite flowers, and so it's gonna go in meh tier. It's just whatever. It's a plains, but it has sunflowers on it, and I don't like sunflowers, so my opinion is gonna be putting this pretty low. The taiga's a solid biome, but it's not much more than that, so it's gonna go in good tier. There's a lot working for it, but it's just kind of boring and whatever. I love the spruce trees, but outside of that, there's not that much of a reason to go in and to live in this biome. The end is super cool. This is just the main end island with the Ender Dragon. I think everything's great with it. Is it in amazing or god tier? Probably not, because there's not much to it. Obviously, the End Dragon fight is one thing, but I don't think I can rank the biome on that. It's just endstone with some obsidian pillars, and that's kind of it. So it's going to go in great tier because I still really like everything with the end. I think the endstone and the black and everything works well, but I don't feel like I could put this a whole lot higher than where it is. The Void is, I don't know if I'd classify it as a biome, but Minecraft does, so I guess I'll put it in good tier. The Warm Ocean is going to go in amazing. Obviously, this is one of the coolest biomes in all of Minecraft. Well, also it's one of the warmest, but the coral, everything, the tropical fish, I know I talked about this a little bit already, but it just works, and it's a great addition to the ocean to make it feel more complete. The Warp Forest is just another reason why the Nether looks awesome. It's going in amazing tier. It is the Crimson Forest, but I feel like the warped blocks are even cooler than the Crimson blocks. It looks great. It adds some extra color to the Nether than just the red and black and I just feel like it's a great addition. Is it in god tier? Again, no, it doesn't do enough to get in god tier, but it is one of the best biomes and definitely one of the best Nether biomes. The Windswept Savanna, I feel like all of the windswept biomes are going to be a little bit higher because I think they're cool. But the Savannah is obviously still the Savannah, so I feel like I kind of have to put it in meh tier. It's more difficult to live in, and why would you put in that effort for the Savannah? The Windswept Forest, on the other hand, is in great tier. It's a super cool option if you want to live in the forest and have a little bit extra whoa. Is it the most interesting? No, but it's more interesting than the forest, so I'll put it in great tier. The Windswept Gravelly Hills, again, on their own, they don't do that much, but they're a good addition to the overall amount of biomes with adding some extra texture and with these cool extreme hills that you might see if you were traveling across a planet in real life. I just really like it, and I think it is a good addition, but I just don't think it's super useful, so for that, I'm gonna put it in good tier. We have the Windswept Hills, and these, again, I feel like have a lot of the similar things. It's a cool option, but you're not, like, it's just a rare, unique biome that I feel like is overall pretty good, but not much more than good. The last one, we have the Wooded Badlands, which takes the Badlands and adds some more materials to it, so I feel like I gotta put it a little bit higher than the Badlands. I don't think it's quite great, but it is a significantly better biome than just the Badlands, so I'll put it in good tier, and that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching this entire video. For the very, very small amount of you that are still here, please be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Peace!